Hi everyone, it's Christine. This is Finding Dharma, so welcome. Today's video's topic is going to be fear. So in the last video that I put out, I kind of mentioned that this would be the topic. And I had kind of a vision of where I wanted to go. I don't want these videos to be super long, so I'd like it to be kind of little tips and ideas to get you kind of thinking about maybe your path, your own life, and how these things are working, um, either for or against you. And it ended up being a really eye-opening, expansive, deep topic where I saw how I had identified fear in so many different ways, how it had been functioning in my life and how I had been reacting to it and letting it kind of control my life for a very long time. And so I kind of sat down and started writing this out for me because that's the way I kind of think through things. I write things out, I journal. And things became a lot clearer to me, but it also became clear that one video kind of wouldn't give me enough time to cover it since I'd like to keep these videos kind of short so it doesn't go on and on and on. But I do want these videos to be helpful to you in that maybe it'll give you some tools or some ways where you can kind of start approaching these topics in your life, these areas in your life that may be blocking you or holding you back or making you feel less than or not living the life that you want to live. And fear is a major thing that I think is in all of our lives. It's common to all of us. It's common to the human condition, I think. And it's such a controlling thing that if you let fear into your life and not really take a pause and kind of see it for what it is, kind of step back from it and make decisions instead of just reacting out of fear all the time, which is, I think, what we're kind of trained to do from very small children, that I think it can become something that becomes the biggest block to you in walking the path and living the life that you want to lead. So I thought what I would do is tell you kind of about my journey, just briefly about, especially in the last few years, how I've kind of been trying to um, dissolve or move through fear or different parts of my life where fear has kind of dominated. And again, I think there's so many ways that this is true for my life and for what I'm experiencing and how I'm living my life, that I'm not saying that I don't live without fear. And I'm not even saying necessarily that by addressing fear and facing it and walking through it, that you'll never have fear in your life again. But I can say that it's very empowering, and it's something where I think in the fears in our life is where we really get to know our true selves. And in walking through that fear and kind of choosing how we respond to it is where we find our power. And each time we do that, each time we look at a fear in our life, we take a step back, we pause, and we make a choice on whether we want to keep that fear where it is because it's serving a purpose and because it feels like the right thing to do, or it might feel like it's something that we're not ready to address, or we make the choice that, hey, this fear is really something that I don't need in my life anymore. It's not serving any purpose except holding me back, and we step through it and we make those choices. Those choices keep empowering us and keep building up that inner strength and that inner knowing of getting to know who we are and who our soul wants us to be, what the purpose is, why we're here in this life, and what's the path we're supposed to be walking. I think fear and addressing fear and overcoming it, or at least acknowledging it, is the first step and the kind of the key step in order to live an authentic life. So I'll give you some examples. And when I was journaling, it kind of came very clearly to me that fear is something that I had been raised with. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily only from my parents, and I don't mean that in any kind of critical way where I'm judging them as having parented me wrong, because I think the instilling of the fear of pain or disappointment was something that they were trying to do in order to protect me so that I would never have to be disappointed, or I would never have to feel like I couldn't achieve something, or having other people tell me, or failing. Um, I think my parents did that because they wanted to protect me. So, for example, when I was little, there were many times, which I think every child goes through this, where I had dreams of what I was going to be. And so I remember when I was very little, I told my father I wanted to be a ballerina. Well, I'm a tall girl. I'm 5'10". So you can imagine as a child, I was a pretty big girl then too. And that was what my dad told me. He said, Christine, you're too tall. You're never going to be able to be a ballerina. And I just accepted it and knew even then I was disappointed, but I knew he was telling me this and he was being honest and he was doing it because he was trying to protect me. So the next time I can remember, I was all into dinosaurs because what child isn't? And I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to work with dinosaurs and study dinosaurs and become a dinosaur expert. And my dad told me, Christine, what kind of job? You're never going to be able to find a job if you go into that field. So again, fear of failure, putting that fear out there. Don't reach for the stars. Don't try for things that are special or different or that are one in a million, because chances are that it's not going to happen for you. So why even bother trying and putting that risk on yourself? And the next time I remember, I was a little bit older. I was probably in middle school. And my father and I, we did a lot of astronomy. So we would look at the stars, and I would read books on astronomy, and my dad loved it too. And we talked about the universe and theories and Carl Sagan. And even to this day, I have a bumper sticker on my car that says Hail Sagan because I love Carl Sagan, even though he denies that there was any existence of like a spirituality, which I think now he would take back if he could. But I still adore him. So I wanted to be an astronomer. And my dad said to me, Christine, you have to be super good in math. And I was okay in math. My sister's a math genius. So compared to her, I was nowhere near the ability of math that my father probably put out there. And looking back, it probably wasn't the right choice for me. But at the time, it was a little disappointing. And again, my dad was being honest, and he was, trying to shield me from this outside world and play it safe, play it safe, play it safe. And that was the message I got. There was this huge fear put into me of like ever trying to reach for anything above average. You can't do it, Christine. Don't even bother trying. Why would you want to risk that? Well, my life now is very different from that. And I think it's because due to the illness or the health issues that I went through a few years ago, I was forced to give up a job that I was trying to do spiritual work, but in a very academic environment because it was an accepted kind of career. And it wouldn't put me out there, and it wouldn't make me seem like I was, reaching for the stars or, taking big risks with my life. And I was kind of forced into the decision to leave in a way, but on the other hand, I could have stuck it out and I could have stayed with this position, and it would have been much easier for me to kind of face the fears of criticism and judgment by others, especially in my family or even my friends, working and saying now that I'm a spiritual teacher or someone that wants to work with spiritual texts and, with meditation and with mindfulness. It's a huge shift from who I was before, or at least the outward public kind of person that I was before. And so even that kind of has been a fear that I've had to face. But each time that I did, each time that I said, you know what, stop, this is fear that I'm making this choice through and because of, and I don't want to do that anymore. So it's okay if I had decided to stay in my old position because that's where I really felt I belonged. But it's not okay to stay in that position simply out of fear and caging myself in because of it. So here's what I think is the first step that really needs to happen, and that's that pause. So recognizing when you are feeling fear about a decision, an action that you want to take, project that you want to do, a change that you want to make, an experience that you want to have. Fear is something that you need to recognize. And in that recognition, there is that moment of pause and kind of getting perspective, right? So instead of being in the moment of fear and just saying to myself, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't do that because I'm going to be judged and I might be ostracized. I might lose my friends and family. Everyone might think I'm a complete whack job, or, I'll never succeed. Those are all knee-jerk reactions to fear. They're not something that happens in a pause. Those kinds of reactions don't come from a pause. The pause lets you step back and say, hey, this is fear that I'm feeling right now. And is this fear serving me for a higher purpose? Is this fear helping me? Do I really need to stay safe right now because I need the financial support of my job and I can't make that change right now? Or that is a different way of reacting to fear. If you take the pause and you step back when you realize you're feeling fear, and part of that, sometimes you might not even realize that that's fear that you're feeling. And the more that you work with fear in your life and turn towards it and pause with it, the more you start to recognize all the different ways in your life that fear is coming through. And the power of the pause and then the choice of how you react, that's where you gain your strength. That's where you start to figure out what's right for you. What are your values? What's your path? What's your purpose? What's the best thing that you need in that moment in your life? And sometimes fear might be serving you in that moment, but sometimes fear may not. The pause is what gets you the choice, and the choice is what brings you the power. So I think the first step, if you're ready, is to kind of start looking at your life. And what's the first thing that kind of comes to mind when you think, all right, this really is creating fear or anxiety in my life? And take a look at those things. If there's only one thing, it's okay. If it's a bunch of things, make a list or sit down and kind of think about it. And after that, the first time or the next time that you find yourself in a situation where that fear or that anxiety starts to come up, you have every right to pause and to think about how you want to respond to it. And that's your choice then, that response, how you choose to respond to it, whether it's letting that fear be and kind of listening to it, or deciding you want to put it aside and move through it and see what happens. Either way, you're empowering yourself to take action in a way that's right for you and not in a way where you're allowing fear to control your life. So I hope this has helped you. There are other things I'd like to talk about too. I wrote a little bit about this in my blog as well, and I think I'm going to continue with a couple more because this essay became really an essay, and I didn't even touch on half the things I wanted to say. So my blog will probably have a couple more posts come up that talk about the different aspects of fear. But I want you to know that you have all the power in the world to make these choices for yourself, and only you know if a choice is right or wrong. Just make the choice and not just knee-jerk react to situations, okay? Because in making the choice, you're doing it from the core, the center of who you are. In reacting, you're giving up all of your power. I know you can do it. I would love to hear from you in the comments below about how fear is working in your life, how you've overcome it, areas where you might want to still work on it and work through it. I definitely am too. You can follow me on social media, Finding Dharma. I'm on Facebook. I'll put the links below. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram. I'm building my website right now, and I have a blog on WordPress. I'll put that link below. So I would love to see you on any or all of those platforms. If you like the video, like it, share it, subscribe. I would love any support that you have and any feedback too. All right, have a great day. Bye.